Can you change the way someone is showing up in your reality? You absolutely can. I'm going to tell you how to do it. You want to stick around for the end of this video. Okay, so this is a big thing when it comes to manifesting. When you have a version of people, an undesired or unwanted version of people, can you change them? Can they show up real differently in your reality? And how do you do it? All right, I'm going to break it down for you simply. Yes, you can change the way people show up. You can reimagine them so they show up as the version that you want them. The thing is, and here's a key, most people, and I used to do this, I'm not pointing the finger at you, but most of us and most of you, and what I see, the big challenge, mistake, I don't want to say mistake, but the stuck point for people is that they stay so focused on the 3D and reacting to the 3D, and they may affirm for a little bit on the version of the person that they want, but then they react to whatever's happening in the 3D. And so they stay on that hamster wheel of what is. And remember, you are always the cause. The 3D is the effect. It's the mirror. So whenever you want to change and recreate anybody, it always starts with you. Here's how you do it. It starts by going into consciousness, into imagination. This is the law of assumption in a nutshell. You go into your mind and you imagine them differently. And so here's a key question. If you could experience a different version of this person, what would it be? Your SP, your coworker, a family member, a friend, whatever it is. And for this example, let's talk about an SP. If you wanted them as a version who makes you a priority, who loves you, who adores you, who always chooses you, what would you be imagining? What would you be thinking? You wouldn't be going around in your reality, criticizing them, complaining, focusing on what is. Because when you focus on what is and they don't do this and they don't do this and they don't do this, you're creating more of the same. And remember, law of increase. What you focus on expands, you magnify. The shift, here's the key. You take your attention off the current problem and you focus on the solution, on the wish fulfilled, on the end. What is the version of them that I want? I want the version that loves me, that adores me. So you start affirming and believing around this version of the person. My SP loves me. My SP adores me. And so about 20-30% of your affirming is about the SP. But the other, I would say 80% is about you and your concept of self. You have to affirm and anchor the version of you in who experiences that I'm always loved, I'm always adored, I'm always a priority, I'm always chosen. He always treats me well. I'm in the most amazing relationship. I love my relationship. I love who I am. I am so confident. I am so secure. And you act and you believe and you operate from this version of you. Remember, you're always the cause. So, who would you be if you were in your ideal relationship? You would be the version of you that is confident, that is secure, that is stable, that isn't obsessive, that isn't needy. You wouldn't be waiting and looking on your cell phone to see if he texted you because you'd be so focused on you, so secure on who you are, so confident about who you are. You're not waiting around for a text. You're loving yourself. Remember, you become the love of your own life. You become so confident and secure, and you anchor that version of you in that you're not waiting for someone else to validate you or approve of you. And the counterintuitive part of this, or the dichotomy, or the part that it's we have to first step into this version of us so our 3D will reflect it. Then when we operate from this very confident, secure version of ourselves who becomes the love of their own life, you become very magnetic. You naturally attract and call people into your life. If you're not worried about getting approval or validation from people or things outside of you, that it comes to you naturally. Your SP will naturally come in. And then the rest, the 20% affirming for your SP is easy. It is so easy to draw them in. But the shift has to happen within you. If you haven't shifted or changed into the version of you who is not obsessive, who is not needy, who does not need to check, oh, he hasn't called me, he hasn't shown up differently, you haven't shifted. So that's why everything stems from self-concept. You step into the version of you as confident, secure, knows their worth and value, loves himself, doesn't chase, is not a pick me, is not trying to get approval or someone to choose them, because you choose you. When you choose you, when you love you, when you know your worth, when you know your value, you're not chasing. You're not operating from lack or from a void. Because Obsessive, needy, lacking energy repels people because you're looking to get something from someone. But when you're whole and complete within yourself, you become so secure and so attractive. You become so attractive. That's what, if you've ever been around people who are so magnetic and they don't chase, it is because they're self actualized. They're so confident and secure in who they are. That's really it. It's all concept of self. And when you have a high self concept, you naturally attract people. So if you want to change your SP, imagine them differently. Imagine them as a version who treats you well, who loves you, who adores you. Stop complaining and reaffirming the old version of them, the version you don't like, because when you do and complain about it to your friends and everyone around you, you're anchoring that version in, and you're anchoring the version of you in who gets treated badly in relationships. You've anchored that in. That's really, you're reaffirming it. Everything that you're doing, complaining and whining and going to every friend telling them, what do I do? And look what they did. You're anchoring that version of you who doesn't get treated well in relationships. And your SP will continue to reflect it. You have to interrupt that pattern, take your attention off of them and say, okay, let me create a new dynamic. And we create it first in imagination. Remember, in the mind, everything starts in the mind, in consciousness. So you create movie scenes, you affirm around it, you script around it, you visualize around it. As you fall asleep, you create imaginal scenes and see yourself and feel yourself already having and being this version of you who is always treated amazingly, who is in the most amazing relationship, who is a priority. If you were the version of you who is loved and adored because you love and adore yourself, and your 3D will reflect it, and you're secure in your relationship, how would you be operating? How would you be acting? Think about it. Not needing and insecure, not needing someone else to validate you or to give you the answers. You go within and you operate from that certainty and that knowing of who you are. So imagine them differently. And what you stop giving your energy and attention to, you starve the monster, it'll fizzle out of your life. And then you're giving your energy and your attention, law of increase, you're magnifying the solution, the wish fulfilled, and you focus on that and you affirm that and you anchor in the version of you. You cement that in, who's always treated right, who loves herself. Just listen, I'm always treated correctly. People always show up correctly in my life. I have great friendships. I have a great relationship. I have great business partnerships. You affirm and cement those realities in by creating them in your mind. The body follows where the mind is. Your words align with that version of you in your mind. It's all connected. And so you have to really get clear on what is the wish fulfilled. Take your attention off the problem. Let's focus on the solution. Let's magnify the solution. Let's talk around and affirm and rampage around the solution. Let's believe around the solution. Let's affirm and reaffirm and cement and anchor this version of me in, who lives in this reality from a high self-concept, from the version of her who always gets what she wants, the version of her who's always treated well, the version of her who has peaceful, loving, supportive relationships, who's always respected, who's always included, who is in just a loving, amazing relationship, who's always treated well by her SP, who's treated well in friendships, who's treated well everywhere she goes because she treats herself well and operates from a high self-concept. Everything starts with you. Once you understand this law of assumption that it all stems from you can transform everything and anything. That's where circumstances don't matter. You're the creator. So you create it from within and operate from that. And you do it over and over until it gets easier. You get better at it. You just practice it, you know, and it'll get easier. I promise you. That's how it works. But you want to reimagine someone. You want them to show up differently. You first have to get clear and become the version of you who's treated well, but then also focus on them and affirm them and believe them and magnify that version of you. And the old versions will fizzle out. And I've been able to reimagine people and they've showed up differently because I am affirming differently, I'm believing differently, but also because I have become a different version of me who operates from a very high self-concept and what I no longer tolerate. And I have respect for myself and I have love for myself. And I'm also understanding of not operating from lack or neediness or obsessiveness. I don't need anyone outside of me to validate me. I know who I am. And when you stand in that knowing, because of that powerful God within, you're connected to source, to higher intelligence, and you're worthy and you're valuable, and you know your worth and value. And you push that out in the mirror, the echo will reflect it back to you. Everything stems from you. You're always a creator of your reality. And whether you want to reimagine people or whether you want them just to fizzle out of your life, you get to decide. And once you understand your power and stand in your power, you get to see how you can reimagine anything. There's no need to fear, because whatever circumstance you're facing, you can say, okay, this didn't work out. Let me imagine this differently. Or if something undesired shows up, you can ask yourself, what am I believing? What limiting beliefs am I attached to? And how can I shift this? How can I flip this? How can I change this? And how can I get into the energy of the wish fulfilled, what I want to draw in and what I want to attract? You're that powerful. And the more you practice this, the easier it becomes. It's just practice and doing it over and over and over. But as far as your SP, first of all, get clear on the version of you who's treated well in relationships. Take your attention off the situation. Listen, if it's a situation where it's dangerous or abusive, remove yourself, because that's not you operating from a high self concept. Because when you have a high self concept, you don't tolerate abuse or disrespect. You remove yourself. But then imagine the version of your SP and affirm that, how you want them to show up, create scenes around that. Law of thought transmission. Our thoughts carry energy, but also you operate from that version who knows what they want and what they deserve and what they expect and what they put their energy into. And anything that you're putting your thoughts and your energy and your focus and your attention on and into, you're growing and you're magnifying. So be very intentional about what you're giving your attention to, what you're affirming, and you get to create your reality. That's how it works. This stuff is transformational. It truly, truly is. It has changed my life because I realize that I get to decide who I am and I can shift or change anything. And I started to affirm that all my relationships in every capacity. They're mutually supportive, they're beneficial, they're uplifting. I work and I operate with people who love me and support me, people who are healed, people who are safe, people who are honest, people who are working on themselves. And then I just allow things to either leave my life or to show up into my life and move forward in that reality. Okay? Thank you for joining me on this video. I'll see you on the next one. Have a very blessed day and take care. And remember, I believe in your worth and value. Believe in it for yourself. You're worthy of living the life of your dreams.